Today, we have got Teresa Young with us. She is an iPEC certified professional coach. She is also an educator and a multi-instrumentalist who coaches clients one-on-one from sunny Los Angeles, the city where she feels right at home. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Heather Doyle. Some of you may have already spoken with me. I'm the admissions director for iPEC Coaching. And let me tell you a little bit more about Teresa as people are joining on today's call. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join myself and Teresa today. So Teresa is a featured columnist on iPEC's exclusive publishing platform, One Idea Away. And she actually got her very first client this way. She also has a podcast on iTunes called Live Your Dream for Real and is active on Twitter at Left Coast Coach. Now, today, we're going to encourage you to ask Teresa all of your questions about how she got started, why she chose iPEC, what she's accomplished so far, because she does work full-time for herself, living her true passions. And we also want you to ask about, what's in store for her in the next chapter of her business. Now, we're really lucky that Teresa was willing to take time out of her busy day and to come and answer all of your most pressing questions. So I really want to invite and encourage everybody today to take advantage of our time with her and ask questions that only Teresa can answer about her experiences and the wisdom that she has to share with us about becoming a successful coach. If you have logistical type of questions about the iPEC program, like how long it is, how does it work? Are there live modules? Those are all really great questions, but I'm going to share with you how you can get in touch directly with an iPEC admissions coach at the end of the webinar so that you can get those types of questions answered, because they are great questions. And if you're not ready to speak with an admissions coach, I'll also share with you how you can join us next week on our live Q&A where you can get those questions answered too. But today, again, just really want to encourage you to take advantage of Teresa's time because she's got great wisdom to share with us. Now, if you're joining us on Zoom, you can just type your questions into the icon that looks like a little folder, or maybe it even looks like a little chat bubble, and I'm going to be able to see them, and I'll be able to read those questions to Teresa, and we're going to get as many of those answered as we can. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, just put your question right into the comment section, and our technical guru behind the scenes, Suzanne, will be able to see those, and she's going to send them my way so we can get those answered too, okay? So please be sure to stay tuned all the way through the call because we're going to hear at the end of the call all about Teresa Young's podcast and how you can work with her one-on-one if you want to. And I'm also going to let you know how you can speak directly with an admissions coach or join us on our next live Q&A. So Teresa, welcome. And while we're waiting for people to type questions in, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe share with us, what made you decide to become a coach and why you chose iPEC.
Awesome. So first of all, Heather, thank you for that beautiful intro. I love what you said about me. It's nice to hear. And I guess what I wanted to share with everybody first, and hello, everybody. I've already said this morning to these ladies that I so remember exactly where you were. And so I'm really excited to get to speak to you at this kind of pivotal moment in your life. So as Heather said, I was first trained as an educator, as an arts educator. I'm a musician. And then in the midst of my own divorce at a certain point in life, I did a deep dive into energy medicine, the chakra system, just this whole realm of holistic health and how the body, mind, spirit works. The connection between everything that is going on with us and our physical health, the connection between how happy we are and, the way our life unfolds, the connection between are we really taking care of ourselves and what manifests for us. So all of that became a passion for me. And I started a coaching practice then. It was early on. It was like the year 2000. And I called myself a holistic coach. A lot of my colleagues in that training at that time went into hands-on healing work of some type. But I really wanted to have empowering conversations with people. So it's an interest of mine from way back and has been one theme of my life that I'm fundamentally most interested in: the human journey and how we continue to grow throughout our lives and how that impacts our professional and personal lives and all of that. So I moved to LA 2004, thought from the East Coast, I thought I would continue my holistic coaching practice, but I got caught up in everything that LA was. I had no idea what LA was when I moved here. I thought it was going to be kind of a crunchy granola scene, and it was not at all. It's just this crazy hyper entertainment, just nut house. And I loved it, fit right in, got involved in the arts, got involved in education, was doing some coaching and some private teaching on the side, raising my sons, life was a blur. And then 12 years later, I lost a really great teaching job. And in the process, this was 2014, I decided to start developing a business while doing some consulting. I'm studying marketing plans, getting deep into how to market this business idea. And I happened upon a marketing video for a life coach. And it just stopped my world. I've already told these ladies I'm a crier, so it can happen at any moment. I may start. But
it's okay. You're with your tribe. It's okay.
Yes,
you can cry.
Yes. Absolutely. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But so I'm watching this video about this life coach, and it just totally just stopped my world, because I had this just flash of certainty that original path that I had started all those years ago was there waiting for me. That original passion, it was there. And here I was, free to develop whatever I wanted to develop at this point. Now, I had been developing that business with a friend and a colleague. And so wow, okay, I've got a brand new path that's opening before me if I decide to explore it. I had this other thing that, we're working hard on, but now, woof, everything has opened up in some way. So I started exploring programs. And when I found iPEC, I had exactly the same experience, that this is it. And the reason for that was because of the energy leadership focus, because to me, it fit beautifully with my earlier focus on the body, mind, spirit connection, and the role that our use of our energy and the use of our life force plays in everything from our physical health to our, happy and healthy relationships to our creative and professional lives. So energy leadership, fit. That's just a total fit. So the first coaching that I got actually from the intake, I can't remember what you call it. Isn't there some kind of an intake coach?
The admissions coach.
Coach.
Yeah.
The first coaching that I got from them was, hey, I got this dear friend who thinks I'm going to develop a business with her. And that's just completely over for me. And I love this person. And I'm a person who honors my commitments and, all of that. And so they just listened and were present. And that made a difference from the start. It's like, okay, these are not just sales people. These are coaches. The minute I have started to interact with this company, the training has already started. And so that was a first. I'm going to cry.
You're going to make me cry, because I'm like, that's what I always tell people. Yeah. Nobody believes me, but I'm like, yes, from the moment you touch us, one, the training starts right then. And two, we're not salespeople. We're here to support you and help you, decide what's your best interest.
Right.
You're going to make me cry.
Yeah. Well, just, we got a lot. Let's see, 45 more minutes to cry together. And so it was, started right then. And so I applied in December of 2014, applied for the program and applied for the student loan, the credit union loan. Totally clear that that's what I wanted to do. The training started in March 2015. I was doing some consulting part-time while doing this training. I decided, even though I'm in LA, to do my training in New York. because I have a son and a granddaughter in New York. So it worked out perfectly. I was going back and forth and staying with my son. In fact, my son went to the first module with me where you can invite a guest. And that was a tremendous experience, just to have him be part of the start of that conversation and the openings that occurred, and to then have right away with someone in my circle new language to share. I'm going to cry, explore together. And we've been, that has impacted our relationship ever since. So that was March 2015, went through the program, earned my 2 certifications in December of 2015, because that is the way I am. Once I latch onto something, it's like, nope, this is what we're going to do. Got goals, time periods, everything. Finished in December of 2015. Was at that point, I had signed on past the consulting role with a school to job share with another teacher. So I had moved from consultant to employee. So I finished in December. In June, I signed a contract for 1 more year and knew immediately that it was not the right thing for me. I was trying to do it on a practical level. Let me just take 1 more year while I figure out how to now develop my business. In terms of the body, mind, spirit connection, it was completely clear to me it was not the right thing to do, and I resigned. And it was I would say, if I think about all of the choices that everybody who might be listening to this call might be considering right now, that was one of the hardest things that have been part of this process for me.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because Tiffany actually, hi Tiffany out there, by the way, Tiffany actually asked a question that, like, you're right. And it's like the universe is lining up your answer in her question, because she's asking, how do you transition from coaching school into real life? Like, how do you, and what I'm hearing you say is you're like, I had this contract and I knew that was not the direction that was leading me out of coaching school. So if you could expand on that, I know Tiffany would like to know more.
Well, and I'll tell you this, just because I keep talking about the body, mind, spirit, and I am a holistic coach, because all of that is part of my process with a client. I signed that contract. I left for a short little vacation with my husband. I just felt sad. I had a backache. The principal texted me to say, hey, you left your contract on my desk. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, what's that about? Clearly there's, I'm not super into that. So I'm on vacation with my husband and I've got this backache and I'm sad. And I sat down right before we were going to go out to dinner one night, and I just looked at the numbers, because I had maintained my private teaching practice throughout this whole consulting and then part-time and then job sharing piece. I wasn't going to let that go, because that was mine. So that was part of why I was job sharing and doing part-time work, because I had a part-time business of my own already. So I was looking at the numbers. Could I make this work? And I just decided I have to talk to my husband about this. Got up to go to dinner, backache is gone. The sadness is gone. And this is, I feel like an answer to Tiffany's question, because it's not all about pragmatics. The pragmatics will follow the life force, because if you are honoring what wants to happen, then you ride this wave of energy. You have the energy to do whatever you need to do, instead of when we kind of force ourselves to do what we think we have to do. It's just like, there's so much effort involved. And so this was absolutely that kind of an experience for me. But I want to go back for a second to how hard it was to actually resign that position. And I remember, because of the type of relationship that I had with this school and with this principal, I was going to send an email on a Monday morning and then call. I crafted the email. And I had been a board member at this school for years. I mean, I loved and love this community. It was about, how do I contribute? What is my path in life? That's the most important question. You can love and care for everybody around you, but who are you and what is your journey? What is the contribution that you're here to make? So I crafted the email, I sat there, and I swear to you, I sat with my finger on the send button. I don't know how long, heart just, because I knew it was a pivotal moment. And it was really, really scary and really, really hard, that piece. But once done, and this is another thing that I really believe, it's like you wait for clarity, you search for clarity, you reflect, you do your work to come to a moment of clarity. And then once you're there, it's not enough to know, we have to act. And then when you take that action, there's just this incredible release of energy. And again, I talk about life force a lot. So once it just scared the shit out of me, excuse me. And then once done, just the most amazing thing. And then, yes, all the fears will come up, but I believe when you're on your path and you take those steps that matter, there's such a peace that comes with that. And again, there's an energy that comes with that then makes everything that's part of that flow. And I'm always looking for that flow, and I'm coaching others to find that flow, because then you just ride that wave instead of working and working and working against all of your, the have to and the should, and this one expects this and that one expects this, and all of that we're balancing forever, but from the place of who am I first. Mm-hmm. First and fundamentally. And so at that point, it was summer anyway, when teachers, have some time. So I was just really focused on making sure I could make my private teaching business flourish now that I had more time for it, and that I really started. And I had already started marketing my coaching business too. I have to say that's another strength of iPEC, because you are being guided and mentored and aided every step of the way in terms of marketing. I started my Left Coast Coach Twitter handle after I was accepted into the program. So it hadn't even started yet. And I was already like, okay, I'm so into this Left Coast thing. Why don't I do that? So that started. And then I started developing my website right away, so that I already had that when we got into the marketing coaching, so that I could tweak it and, develop it based on the coaching that we were getting. So that was already it was already real in terms of having a web presence and having a social media presence. And then having quit the teaching job freed up so much time and energy to then spend on that. But I have to say, my perspective on developing then your coaching clientele, and I would say to you too, Heather, that I don't even think I'm in an in-between point. I'm thrilled with where I am. I'm like, I do curse. I'm going to try not to. But
no, it's totally, I do too. So
yeah.
Fair warning, everybody out there.
Yeah, it's a feature of my coaching work, but I'm completely thrilled with where I am right now. And but the most important thing, what I started to say, is that I believe your coaching clients are going to come from your community. It's important to have a social media presence. It's important to have a website, so that it legitimizes you. It gives people who are interested a chance to go and see, okay, who is this person? Once they've connected with you, or once they know this about you. But I believe you're gonna build your clientele through people who know you or know of you. And that's why one of the unexpected things that happened for me is that my community that knows me as a private music teacher has sourced my coaching clients, which is just the most beautiful thing if you think about it. And it makes so much sense because people who know you in one professional capacity and respect you and enjoy you and relate to you and know that you're someone they can relate to, it makes perfect sense then. Hey, so-and-so, your child is struggling, or you are in transition and you're not sure what to do next. You know what? Teresa, we love her. And she's coaching now. Why don't I connect you? And that's how it works. So my work with what was Live, Lead, Play, right? And it's now one idea away. I got a client through them, but that wasn't my first client. It's just the only client I've ever gotten that wasn't through my personal community.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, she found me, she's in Philadelphia, and she found me in LA through your website and through the articles that I'd written on the site. And that is so cool that now that this is a client, this is a Fortune 100 pharmaceutical executive who found me, and we've been working together for a year. And it's an amazing fit. And so I think that's also possible, that you continue to do that. I'm not putting a lot of time and energy in that right now because I'm so busy. And I so believe in this community approach. But it all fits together as far as I'm concerned.
We've got a lot of like kind of business buildy questions.
Yeah.
This one I think is really interesting. It's from Joanna, and she's wanting to know if you started with free coaching in the beginning.
Yeah. So while going through the program, I think that, and again, I said this to the iPEC ladies before our guest joined us. The program itself is kind of a blur to me because there was so much going on. But there is a phase in which we're working with our peer coaches. And then it seems to me we were also encouraged at that point to reach out and start doing free coaching with other people. And so that you're still in the program and you're already getting the experience of doing that then, and I think every person in the program then decides how that's going to work for them and how much time you're going to spend, how much time you're going to invest in free coaching. How does that feel? What's the payoff? If your client is getting it for free, are they really engaged? You have to answer all of those questions for yourself. But I do think there's a point in the program when it's incredibly valuable to just put that hat on and start doing it. You just enroll people. Hey,
well, and interestingly, there's another question here about, it has to do with, building your business and how do you decide, how long are your sessions? What are you going to price them at? But what's interesting is the very end of the question is, say, especially as a beginner without a ton of testimonials. And to your point, if during the program you're going out and you're just practicing coaching and you're offering free sessions, you can say, how about I give you a free session in exchange for a testimonial? Then it's not even so much that it's free because you're asking for something in return. Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And that's stuff that we encourage you guys to, Teresa's absolutely right. That's stuff that iPEC is like, go out there, get started. Another question is, has to do with, as people are typing in questions, it scrolls and I lose the question I was looking at.
I love it.
They were asking about, and I don't remember who it was, maybe it's over here. But it was about starting your business after you'd finished the program. And what I was hearing you say was you didn't even wait till the program was done in order to go ahead and start and get going.
Right. Because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I had any paying clients during the program. Some people do. Some people do. I think it was after I quit that teaching position and could really focus on that in my community that I could then be saying to people, hey, guess what? I'm putting my shingle out and this is what I'm going to do now. That's when the paying clients started to come. And I do think the other thing that I really believe, and I think that this was part of the marketing coaching that we got, is that you have to love that part too. You have to embrace it. You know, if you're somebody who says, oh, I just hate self-promotion, you got to completely rethink that you got to enjoy the process of engaging with people about what you're doing. It's not about you. It's about potential contributions to them. You've got to enjoy how is it that I might set up my business model so that it works for me financially? What feels right? How long do I want my sessions to be? What feels right in terms of charging people right now? That is all a process of self-discovery. You know, if we can think of it that way, that it's part of our creative process. Mm-hmm. It should be just as kind of juicy as the rest of it. And if you can have that approach, then I believe it's all going to start to flow together. That thing, yeah. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
If I'm ready to tell you how much I'm going to charge you for this lesson, for this session, and how long it's going to be, and kind of how we're going to work together, if I've got that all sorted out, somebody's going to step into that space. I believe that, and it's been the case for me.
Now, Kimberly is wanting to know, and it's kind of, I've got to give you a little backstory, and thank you, Kimberly, for sharing the backstory because it helps us better understand your question. But she's saying, what if you don't have a community? How would you get going? She's living in Italy, but she's not Italian and she doesn't speak the language. She feels a little isolated and she's considering moving back to the States. But she's just not sure. And so she's curious, how would you get started in a situation where, I think this applies to, a lot of people where maybe even if you do have a community, maybe you feel a little awkward about, being like, hey, I'm a coach. Like, how would you get started without that community? I know as coaches, we don't give advice, but in this case, it's an interview. We're going to ask Teresa for her advice.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind about being an expat in Italy is that there must be other people who are feeling exactly the same. And is there some way to connect with them? Now, again, coaches create the space in which those questions get answered. Mm-hmm. But you can also, we can create that space right now for her by saying, well, what is it about you that other people in that community might be able to relate to? And everybody also, I think, in modern life can relate to perhaps feeling disconnected or feeling lonely. And so what do you do with that? And the other thing I want to say is that another fundamental belief of mine is that when we're not clear, like there's a really important question like this to be answered. How do I create community, or how do I create the opportunity to connect with other people around the possibility of my coaching them? If we're not clear, our work is to seek clarity, mm-hmm. to ask, to research, to reflect, to daydream, to see what comes into the empty space of that question. And I hope that doesn't sound too, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't coach people kind of on a surface level. I think you have to go deep. And so that question is going to be answered by each person by truly going deep into their own hearts and minds and saying, for me, in my circumstance, in my situation, given what I love, what I enjoy, how might I connect with the world as a coach? And it's going to be a unique answer for every person.
Well, I love that you immediately keyed into there must be other expatriates there too. And Kimberly, specific to your situation, and I'd invite you to connect with an admissions coach. We have a location in London and a location in the Netherlands. And one of the things, and maybe Teresa, you can speak to this a little bit too, because we're getting other questions relating to this part of it. The iPEC community is fierce. They're very active. There's a lot of support. So once you're a student, you can throw that question out into a forum and say, hey, I live in Italy. I don't speak the language. I'm looking to start, getting some coaching clients. what ideas to the community do you have? Do you have somebody you can connect me with? What kind of support have you experienced, Teresa?
Well, I want to go back to one thing because I'm afraid I'm going to forget. And that is, if you think about like anybody out there who's thinking, well, I just don't have that kind of community, or, I don't feel comfortable connecting in a certain way with the people in my life. The fundamental support, Heather, that you get in the program is a transformational experience, a transformational life experience, such that you may think you're someone who doesn't have a community, or you may consider yourself somebody who doesn't have the ability to speak to people in a certain way, but that's going to change through the course of this program. And it is designed that way. So I remember I just want to say very quickly, the first module, I had a transformative experience in the first hour, like before the first break. And I'm somebody who has done a tremendous amount of personal development work. Here come the tears. It's going to come. It's going to happen. And so that's the power of this program. It's not about tips and techniques fundamentally to, start to have a new business. It's about a way of experiencing being human on the planet and standing in a space of power that then allows you to make a difference to the world. That, it is nothing less than that. And I would say that's the experience that I had throughout the program. The very first module, I was blown away in the first hour. Now, it wasn't because the setting was cushy, or, the pastries were fantastic, or, everything was just like super, like, it was the content of the program. And then that was the case throughout. And I would come back to my life after every weekend, and I would experience the shift in me and the shift that it created around me. Mm-hmm. Personally, professionally, every single corner of my life. I wasn't imagining that this coaching training program would blow the lid off of my approach as a private music teacher. That wasn't in my thinking at all. And now that's just a tremendous source of satisfaction to me. And it's just blown up, because now I'm a private music teacher who coaches. I've brought all of that into what I'm doing. And I'm not just coaching the students, I'm coaching their parents. They become, they or their family members become my coaching client. So it's like it all becomes the same thing. And I'm wondering if people can relate to that in some way, that you may be in a field that may have some kind of tangential connection to coaching, whether it's, that you're an employee who wishes you had a better supervisor and thinks maybe you might do a better job of that at some point, or whether you are in the helping profession in some way and you're thinking, man, I just got to get out of here, and that's why I'm considering this program. You have no idea what impact this training is going to do on the work that you are currently doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always tell people it's not just learning how to do a skill set. It really is about becoming and showing up differently.
Yes. And so, and I don't think I didn't have that capability at the beginning of the program to really think about how to talk to my existing community about this work. It was rocky, it was awkward, but you do it. It's the work. And so you do it. And then as you do it, you find your style and you start to see how you're connecting and with whom you're connecting. There's a tremendous amount of time spent on developing your niche, who it is.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because Sherry, Lynn, and I might be mispronouncing your name, so I apologize. I want to say Irial. It's IRIAL, Irial. They're asking about, they all have slightly different questions. regarding the niche. So how did you find the niche that you decided on? Sherry wants to know, did you focus on a niche area for your coaching practice, or are you just open to any type of client? And Lynn is wanting to know, how important do you feel it is to define a focus?
Well, I think it's another big strength of the program, that there's so much time and energy spent on developing that niche. And I think it is important. And I think it's also important to realize that you can't do it wrong. You're going to start somewhere, whatever feels right in the training and the coaching that you're getting around niche. You'll start there. And then also, as I've observed coaches who are a couple of years ahead of my process, I've observed that evolves. You start someplace and then you start to see what comes of that, and it continues to evolve. Now, what happened with me is that I immediately chose creatives as a niche, that I would work with fellow creatives, because for me, there's a certain artistic sensibility in life that people who are in the arts have, and how to pursue your art in a culture that's very materialistic is one question that people who are truly determined to live their passion are always trying to answer for themselves. How do I pursue my art instead of giving it up? So that was an initial niche for me, is to work with creatives. So what's happening with me is kind of threefold. I have those clients, and then I also have the clients who are coming to me that then I have to pay attention. And again, I don't want this to be too kind of airy-fairy, but it's like, I have my concept, and then what is the universe sending to me that I need to say, oh, got it. And so that's like, one niche is creatives. Another niche is, because of my early focus on energy work and the body, mind, spirit connection, I have people coming to me who have health issues. That's not what I was initially setting out to do, but it makes perfect sense because it connects to a very old training and passion for me. That's like, it's just part of me. I don't have to think about that. It's part of me, that I'm able to make a difference to those people. And now the other thing that's happening with me is that I'm starting to get children to coach, which makes perfect sense because I am a private teacher, private music teacher, and an educator. And so now parents are sending their children to me instead of sending them to a therapist or something like that. It's like,
so
okay.
It sounds like iPEC really gave you the professional skill set of coaching, so you can coach anybody, anywhere, anytime on any subject.
But I also think that they are, I like the fact that they're so real about the fact that having a niche is going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. That you do want to kind of create a smaller funnel through which to communicate with people so that you can actually really hit somebody right where they live. Oh, she gets me.
Yeah.
And then that person becomes an early client. And there's no reason why you can't have more than one of those kind of funnel conversations, of the ways of talking about your work. But you want to have something. If it's just like, woo, I just do anything, you might not really pierce the heart of anyone who you speak to unless you develop something like that. And I do think it's a great part of the program that there's.
And there are a few people asking, did you feel prepared to start your journey? And a lot of the questions are to start your journey at the end of the program, but I have other people saying, did you feel prepared to start your journey into your business during the program? So where would you land on that?
I'm just going to say yes. Awesome. It's like as prepared as we can ever be. I was just telling you guys, I just uploaded my 4th podcast this morning, and it's on fear. And it's the results of a father asking me a question about fears. And fear is part of who we are. Mm-hmm. Fear is part of the human journey. I don't care how prepared you are. You have to then step in and take action. And I do feel that this program is incredible in terms of not only creating, again, a transformative life experience, but also lots and lots of nuts and bolts coaching and materials and all kinds of pragmatic things that help to make that preparation real for the person who then is going to say, yep, I'm really going to do this. Let me take that package, like I know we received materials that we could customize for our first agreements and all of that with clients, and all of that makes a difference. And then it's like you got to just jump in. It's just part of the process. And I feel like because I was already a private teacher, I already had a business going, it perhaps really made it easier for me because I kind of modeled my coaching program or my coaching business after my private teaching work.
I love that you brought up, though, that iPEC does hand you like all the stuff that you can customize so that if you don't have any experience in that, like I certainly didn't, I was like, oh, here's this entire manual of basically 12 workshops, or they could be coaching sessions, or, how do you want to use it? So I love that they prepare you in that way.
A client agreement.
A client agreement. Yeah. What would you say has been the hardest part about, running your own coaching business?
I tell you, I'm just having the best time. I'm having the time of my life. I don't even know what to say about that. It has gone beautifully. And so,
well, you know what? Here's a follow-up question to that then.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned on this journey that maybe you wish you could go back and tell yourself when you first started this whole process?
I think if you have a deep desire, you trust it and you follow it.
Wow.
And that's kind of the basis of my coaching. I think you also you don't do violence to parts of yourself. If you're not congruent, if you've got concerns, if you're just not sure, you work it out. You give yourself the time and space to sort it out, but you don't just sit back and say, oh, I just don't know, so I'm not going to do anything. I think there's a space, if we really do our own work, where we wait for clarity, we do the work to arrive there, and when we know what to do, we just do it. Right? It is not enough to know. You have to act. And it's always going to have a huge element of fear. And it's going to have an element of risk, or else it's probably not going to change your life.
Oh, yeah. That's really insightful.
Yeah. But if the energy is there, I believe that energy is the teacher, and you follow that and you trust it and you walk that path and you let it unfold.
Now, Joanna is asking, hi, Joanna out there. Joanna is asking, what were the 3 things that you like best in the program, and what do you feel is an area of improvement?
Oh, wow. The content. I would say to you, content. And that's what I was there for, and that's what I got. And I'll say, I don't know that I've said this in many other experiences in my life. My expectations were exceeded.
Awesome. I love that. Yay.
Yeah. They were exceeded from start to finish. Even when you consider when the training on the ELI comes in, which is kind of late in the program, the Energy Leadership Index. The Energy Leadership Index rocked my world. And that was near the end of the program. I was just astounded by the power of that tool. And I use it with all of my clients.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Maybe
I do too.
Maybe I could say content, ELI.
Nice. Fabulous. And I'm just going to put it out there for anybody who doesn't know what the ELI is. It's a proprietary assessment that we teach you how to use it. It's an incredible business building tool, because all the other coaches out there, when people say, well, why should I choose you instead of somebody else? You can say, because we're going to start with this ELI. Yeah. So that's what Teresa's talking about.
And it's not just an incredible business tool. In a new coaching relationship, it takes the work deep immediately. So you shortcut weeks of getting to know this person, and of them kind of maybe tap dancing around maybe what their issues are, or what their real style is in terms of their relationship to life. Mm-hmm. You get that ELI assessment done. It takes them 20 minutes. It's no big deal. They get a beautiful report, super professional. Boom. From the minute you do that debrief conversation on their ELI, you're in a very deep, powerful conversation. It's a huge piece of the value of the content of this program. Again, I'm just not somebody to manufacture some area of improvement, because I feel like I don't want to fail at answering the question. If I had more time, maybe I could, think of something that I would really like to offer for feedback on that. But to me, it was a transformative life experience. And that's why I'm on this call, because I so believe in what you're doing and the power of it to change people's lives. And I so believe in the mission of this organization, to change lives one person at a time.
Thank you.
And the organization it just fulfills that mission.
Yeah. So, and yeah. I think you bring up a good point. To be clear, everybody out there, we don't pay our graduate success people who come on. They're taking time out of their day, out of their coaching business to be with us. So if somebody doesn't feel that way, they're not going to say that. So thank you so much for letting us, because I was like, I wonder what she's going to say about improvement. We love to get feedback. So I love that, you're like, no, we exceeded your expectations. That's fantastic. And I love that you believe in our mission too. And for anybody out there that doesn't know our mission, we are wanting to raise the consciousness and the awareness of the world. And we do it one person at a time. So that's everybody out there, whether you choose to go through iPEC or not, just being part of this call, we're now, raising your consciousness.
Yeah.
We have a lot of business questions that are coming in, and I think we've got time for one more, maybe one or two, because I want to leave space to be able to talk about your podcast. And if anybody does want to work with you one-on-one, a lot of people are asking things like, what's the hardest part of gaining clients?
Hardest part. I mean, it might be just trusting the process. That might be the hardest part. To be consistently kind of in a space of trust and creativity instead of fear, or, instead of lack, instead of focusing on what went wrong, to really just keep your own. It's like your role is your intent is to energize and change and, enhance the lives of other people. And then you have to be in that kind of a space in order to attract that client. Mm-hmm. You have to be in a positive, energized, exciting space. And if you're like, oh my God, I needed 10 clients this month and, they haven't materialized, that space is the work at hand. That you've got to be responsible for kind of the elements of your own life such that you can be in that space. And that is going to bring people to you.
Yeah, and the hardest part really is being in that present moment.
Mm-hmm. It's just so true. And it's a huge part of the training too, to really keep going back to that, going back to who we are being, and realizing that if you think about every relationship and every circumstance in our present lives, the common denominator in all of that is us and our current belief systems, our current energy level, the assumptions we've made about life, our own fears, and all of that gets addressed in the program, so that you really are coached and trained in being in that inspired, energized state that is going to ultimately be the difference. That's what's going to bring people to you, is that
Love it.
space that you're in.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
I hope so too. If it didn't, then feel free, because we're running short on time, and Jennifer's asking us a great question. So if it didn't make sense to anybody out there, it made sense to me, but I've been through the training. If it didn't make sense to anybody out there, I'm going to invite you to speak with an admissions coach. And Suzanne or Michael, there are technical gurus behind the scenes. Maybe now is a good time to go ahead and put in a link to be able to book a session with an admissions coach. Or if you're not quite ready to do that, we have just a general Q&A. Every week on Wednesdays when we're not doing a graduate success interview. So maybe you guys could put the link to that into the Zoom and the Facebook Live too. That way, anybody out there, in case we don't get to your question, there are avenues to get your question answered. But before we talk about your podcast, I'm seeing this question from Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer out there. And it's just such a great question. I want to be sure that we ask it. She's saying, sometimes it seems to me like coaching is the new thing. And so she's hesitant due to the negative stigma of, life coach. You see all the parodies and stuff out there, and it just seems like anybody can call themselves a life coach. So what are your thoughts on that? And how does your training with iPEC set you apart, I guess?
Well, I mean, we are moving through a certification program. So that's a huge distinction, to be someone who actually is a certified coach, rather than somebody. I mean, there's a woman in my life who was an incredible trainer, someone who I really respect and enjoy and admire, but now she's calling herself a coach, and she's not a coach. She's got no specific training in how to coach people. And so, and I think that creates some of the issues out there, because people are aware that everybody's calling themselves a coach. But that's why the distinction is important to share with people, that no, I've actually been through a rigorous certification program, and I earned this certification. And I have a particular set of standards and ethics and all of that I am guided by.
Yeah, integrity.
Mm-hmm. And there's another part to that question that I really wanted to address. Oh, the other thing I want to say too is that it is the new thing, and yay for that, because we're at kind of a critical juncture as a species where we've got to continue to grow and evolve pretty quickly because of the power of our technology, the power of so much that humans need to guide and shepherd well. And if you go out and look at something like the percentage of executives who have life coaches, some of the have coaches, some of the highest paid, most successful people in this country, if not the planet, I think the statistic is something like that 40% of them have coaches. Mm-hmm. People who are really up to big things, they do say, I'm going to have myself a coach.
Yeah, there are a lot of sports stars too, because it makes great sense to them. If you have a third base coach and you have a first base coach, why wouldn't you have a life coach?
Right. Absolutely. And that's an analogy that works really well for people too. Just for anybody out there, everybody can relate to the athletic coach. Mm-hmm. If you think about Michael Jordan or Michael Phelps or somebody like that, who, yes, they're on the court or they're in the pool, and they are there and they've reached this level of performance because of that person who's standing over there on the side of the pool or on the side of the field. And it's they have guided and mentored and created the space for the level of performance that they're exhibiting. Everybody can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, just in our last few moments, would you mind sharing with us about your podcast? And, if anybody out there is interested in working with you, how can they reach out and get in touch with you?
Yeah. And, the thing about the podcast is it's just another fun, creative piece of what I'm doing. So it's called Live Your Dream for Real. And I've just uploaded my 4th episode, and that's just what it's about. The process of really being you on the planet, despite all of the other urgencies that may seem to tug at us, that may seem to get in the way of that, that may seem to mean that we can't actually do that. That I believe we're at a unique opportunity here in human history to be able to do that. And that is what I want for people. I want people living their dream just like I'm living mine. So that's what the podcast is about. And then leftcoastcoach.com is my website. And so anybody can get in touch with me through that. And I do believe that coaches should have a coach, and that it's also you'll be way ahead of the game as a coach trainee to have a coach. So, it would be my pleasure to be of help to anybody, whether it would be one time or on an ongoing basis. That is my passion.
Awesome. And I agree with you. Every good coach should have a coach. Mm-hmm. Well, Teresa, thank you so very much for taking this time to be with us and for answering all of the questions. And everybody out there, again, I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question. Erin has written in and she wanted to say thank you so much, Teresa, for the valuable information shared during this interview. And she appreciates the authenticity of your answers.
Thank you. It's been a complete blast.
Thank you so much for coming in and giving us kind of that peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be, that recent graduate and being in that transition space and living your passions fully. My pleasure. You can count on me every year. I'll be
awesome.
Awesome. I'm going to take you up on that.
Yay.
Thank you, everybody out there. Feel free. I posted the links in the Zoom chat and in the Facebook Live. So if you would, if you want to book a session with an admissions coach, there's a link there. If you're not ready for that and you want to join us next week for the general Q&A, I put the link in there for that as well. And that's it for this week. But everybody out there, as always, I wish you a life and a profession of your choosing. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.